So I want to start, or I'm barely talking. Sometimes I get on a stream and I barely have anything to say, which is like not fun. That's not fun to watch. And usually when it's funny because when I'm off stream and I'm just fucking around and talking about shit, it's usually when I have like the most shit to talk about. Is when nobody is watching, when nobody is around, and I'm like scrolling through TikTok, or I don't use TikTok, that's a lie. I'm scrolling through like Instagram, or I'm on YouTube watching a video, and a topic will just come up in the video, and then all of a sudden I'll be like talking to myself in my room about this topic, about these things that I know all this stuff about, and I forget to write it down and talk about it on stream. So now I'm just here. I'm gonna stream for like 30 minutes, talk about whatever. If anything interesting comes up, anyone wants to say anything, we'll talk about that. Otherwise, I'm going to try and just put on this lo-fi in the background and come up with a topic to talk about. The Kama Sutra. Let's talk about that. That is a fun talk about. Ran out of tissue because I was studying the Kama Sutra. So I'm reading it. I'm on chapter 3 right now, page 13, and I gotta say, the Kama Sutra is more about like a way of life than it is just sex, which is awesome. It literally starts off talking about how you need to be able to balance the pleasures of your life and the duties of your life. So like what you're supposed to be responsible for. And that honestly is so fun to talk about because it gives a lot of. I like talking about spirituality because it reminds me that there are certain areas of my life where I do need to work better at like linking things together. Like, for example, when it comes to being educated, like staying up to date, staying in the loop, I do need to work on. Blocking out some of the stuff that I like to do on the side, like as for entertainment. I need to do that more often, and I need to like involve myself in impertinent news. My biggest issue is that sometimes I feel like I'm trying to look into all these different news sources. Like I have smart news on my phone. I have ground news too, and I go to Blue Sky. I look at all the news sources on Blue Sky, and somehow I'll still end up in a conversation with someone, or I'll see somebody. I'll like tune into a stream or something. I tune into a lot of streamers that like to do. They like to do like they have just chatting segments of their stream. So like they'll start off just chatting and they'll talk about certain news or whatever articles that they hear about. Then they'll go into gaming, and then that's where they start talking about wherever the conversation leads after that. And my biggest like issue personally is that, well, not my issue. The thing I'm noticing is these people are getting like news that I'm interested in, and I'm like, well, where did you find this? I don't usually ask, which is a problem. Kind of, and kind of not. I kind of want to find these sources on my own, find like relevant news on my own. Because a lot of the time, I think the biggest problem I have is I'm allowing my news sources to be altered, like adjusted based on what the AI of Google thinks I'm supposed to be interested in. Like it'll give me news topics about like what's going on with the war in Syria, or the war in Gaza, or the war in Ukraine, or what's going on with, like, stuff that's happening in Chicago. But a lot of the times it doesn't make for like good talking pieces. One, because I almost feel as though, like, I really don't think that there's much to talk about in terms of this stuff, other than the general scope of what's going on. Like, yes, Ukraine is basically winning the war against Russia, and the only thing that would change that is if other people got involved, and that's a whole world war situation. But like, everybody kind of already has that in the back of their head. Like, yeah, if anybody steps into Ukraine for Russia or vice versa, that's essentially the spark of that's like the big burst of flame that ignites the world war. Same thing with Israel and Gaza, Hamas. The same thing, same difference. I could give opinions on like stuff, what I think about, like, Ukraine and Russia, or Hamas and Israel, but I don't really want to do that because personally, it's not a matter that I want to be involved in. I feel like if I involve myself in those situations that I am so far removed from, well, not so far removed from, that I'd say that I'm pretty far removed from, right? I have no stakes in those situations. So giving an opinion on that seems just like almost like a brand risk, or just doesn't seem smart. It doesn't seem like a smart thing to do. I could give my opinion about ICE in Chicago, because I live in Chicago, or at least I'm Chicago adjacent, and the surrounding areas of Chicago, the greater Chicago area. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the meme where it's like what everyone around the world thinks is Chicago, and it's like the big upper section of the northeast of Illinois. What people in America think is Chicago, and it's like a slightly smaller circle, but it still encompasses like most of the northeast of Illinois. And like, actual Chicago is like actual Chicago is a very small big city. It's a big city, huge city, a lot of buildings. Transit is like necessary to get around, but in actuality, it's very contained to like, a regular city size. So it's like not that big, but there's a lot of people in it, which is why it seems bigger than it is. But I am in that area, so I have seen in my area, some unmarked cars, basically ICE agents, going around, going to schools. Even at my job, we've been informed about like what to do if ICE, interacts with us. I drive buses, so that's why they have to tell us, because we drop kids off and parents have to come get the kids from the bus, and sometimes there's Hispanic parents, they don't want to go outside of the house because they're a little afraid. They're like concerned, like, well, what if I'm waiting for my kid at the bus stop and then the ICE agent pulls up and shoves me in the back of a car, you know what I mean? So that's why we have had to be aware, that they are in the area. So I guess that's, that was a topic right there. However, that's all there is to the topic. I'm not, going to go into a whole rage about how I'm personally upset, that this is happening to these people, or that I'm mad at Trump. It's like, I already can say that. Yes, I'm upset with Trump for doing this. And yes, I don't agree that this should be getting done. At least, I don't agree that people should be getting profiled and then shoved into unmarked cars and into the back of U-Hauls and stuff and getting sent somewhere else just because they're Hispanic or brown or because you think that they aren't supposed to be here. I don't agree with that, but that's about all I have to say with that. It's like, I don't agree. I can't go on this whole long tangent about all of that, because then all of a sudden now I'm turning into a political streamer, and now the conversation needs to get nuanced into why it's a bad idea, and then I also need to start giving my thoughts and opinions about like how I think it should be handled instead, and then I have to go on a back and forth with people about why it's so bad that, you know, you can't just grab people and toss them someplace else, and why it is, you know, a longer, lengthy, expensive process to make sure everybody is in the right, you know, when it comes to immigrating into and out of a place, what the proper procedures and all that should be and should look like. But I feel like if I start doing that, I don't know, I'm going to put myself in a box if I do that. I'm going to put myself in a box as somebody who is a political streamer, and not just somebody who likes to occasionally talk about politics. I do like to talk about politics, but I don't want to be a political streamer. I don't want people to come in here and tell me the latest political news. Maybe I do. You know, this is me evolving right now on stream as I'm streaming. Maybe I do want people to come in and talk politics to me, because maybe that's the kind of interaction I'm looking for. Personally, if I had it my way, I would have a dedicated day to talk politics. Like I'd have I don't know, a political Saturday or something, or political Sunday, and we talk about the previous week of politics, and maybe that's what I can do. Okay, we're workshopping. I was talking about the Kama Sutra. Sex is nice.